What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here. In this one, we're going to be talking about one of retail's favorites, Palantir. This thing has witnessed a very significant sell-off over the last week here, and I want to come here and give you guys a little bit of a different perspective than I think you guys have heard about kind of the prospects of Palantir moving forward, because quite honestly, this company is in a lot different position in terms of its kind of spot in the market here than a lot of people actually think it is. And that's a good thing. Quite honestly, it is a good thing moving forward, but there is always a time and a place to take certain actions in the market. Now, I'll tell you guys right now, you guys that have probably seen these videos before in the past, I was covering Palantir back in 2021. Started covering it again when I started buying it once they started to really get over some of the main issues that were hurting Palantir back in those days. The significant levels of stock-based compensation, which was hurting their chances at profitability, in the really high levels of concentration in government contracts. So once those were covered, again, made a lot of sense to start buying that stock. I was buying this around the 15s, and I actually ended up getting out at about $71. So again, great return. I'd sell it at 71 again. And we're going to kind of cover exactly what to expect from this moving forward. Now, I don't want you guys to sit here and think that I'm coming out and saying that, like, oh, Palantir is a terrible company. I actually think that Palantir is an awesome company, and they have and what they're doing, in my opinion, is they're one of the only companies out there right now that are really taking full advantage of the new and recent developments in AI and doing something that not a lot of other companies have really been able to do, which is monetize, which is a really, really big development for them and their prospects moving forward. Because again, artificial intelligence and AI and these types of developments and their practical applications, they are not going anywhere. But there's a time and a place for everything. So guys, before we get into all of that information, if you guys do enjoy the information and analysis that I provide for you guys in these videos here, make sure you go down and hit that like button. It costs you nothing to do it, but it helps me out a whole lot in spreading this information out to as many people who actually want to learn. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another video like this. So again, first things first, we really need to talk about the chart here. For those of you guys that know, I'm a trader, primarily a swing trader. We have an amazing group if you guys want to hop in there. You guys do get 50% off your first month with code TRADE, but we're not here to talk about that in this video. So obviously, we're going to be talking about the reasons why Palantir was selling off significantly in a little bit here. What kind of sparked this after that really solid earnings was the Department of, or the Pentagon really coming out and saying that they were looking at cutting their budget by about 8% per year. And with the position that Palantir was in, I want you guys to realize this before we get into the rest of the video. The market right now, after the move that Palantir has made over the last year, year and a half here, it's now going to treat it a lot differently. It's going to be put up on a pedestal. It's like a lot of these other companies that are reporting earnings at the high, they come out with great numbers, but then they sell off. Why? Because the market isn't just about growing revenues. It's about beating expectations, and by beating expectations by a significant margin. Now, Palantir did that on their last earnings. The market really, really loved what Palantir had come out with. They bought it up, but then people started to think to themselves, and I think this is something that a lot of people watching this video are either thinking now or have been thinking in the past, which is not necessarily should you be taking profits, but how much profits should you be taking off the table. And we're going to talk a little bit about this a little bit more here, but again, just looking at this chart, you are seeing this sell-off on a little bit less volume today. You are looking to fill this post-earnings gap here, but you are starting to form. If we hold here and chop around in this little consolidation period, you are forming a little bit of a bear flag, and that break to the downside could be pretty significant, especially if this market continues to move to the downside off of a lot of these tariff fears. Now, what I want to briefly talk about, because I do want to touch on the broad market here, because again, if the broad market starts to sell off, obviously Palantir, a high flyer, is not going to fare well in that type of environment, especially being at these incredibly elevated valuation levels. What I do want to say is that one of the main things that the market, or kind of a lot of these talking heads are talking about, is that tariffs are inflationary. Now, a lot of these PhDs that are coming out and talking about the inflationary effects of tariffs here, quite honestly, I don't trust them. And I'll show you why. The people that are actually putting their money where their mouth is, they're operating and putting risk on the table. They are market participants. They have a thesis, they're putting risk on the table, and in some cases with these large institutions, significant amount of risks. Now, I want you to think logically. If you think that inflation is coming and it's going to be higher than expected, and you know that you then have to put either clients' money, or if it's family office, your own money, into some sort of fixed income investment, you would never buy bonds in the present. You would wait to buy bonds in the future. But there's been a very significant bid for longer term treasury securities here. If the market was actually really afraid of inflation, you would see bond yields going vertical, not the bottom dropping out of them. So a lot of this volatility here, guys, in my opinion, is going to be short-lived, but we'll see what happens. So just kind of going over a couple of the other pieces of news that have come out with Palantir to just give you guys a bigger picture. I know a lot of you guys have heard this, but I do want to reiterate this and just kind of expand on a couple of these points. Again, the Pentagon proposed cutting 8% of its budget in the next 5 years, amounting to some $50 billion a year. And as a lot of you guys know, a significant portion of Palantir's revenues come from these military contracts. Okay. So if that number that Palantir could be receiving in the future, because remember, markets are forward-looking, if that number is going to go down, that could easily hurt Palantir's revenues moving forward, which the market is a little bit pricing in here. But quite honestly, with a stock that is up as much as Palantir was, the market was really just looking for an excuse to sell. Everybody, like I said before, was kind of thinking to themselves, at what point and how much of our profit should we be taking off the table? As soon as that one piece of not so great news comes out, everybody starts to get out of the pool, which is exactly what you've seen here. The other thing that is driving this is Alex Karp is now planning to sell about $1 billion worth of stock. Now, it's about 10 million shares that he's looking to sell, and as of, I believe it's the 2024 numbers, he owns about 99 million shares. So that's about 10% of his holdings that he has filed to sell. It doesn't mean he's going to dump them all in the open market at once. But what I want to bring you guys, your guys' attention to right here is, again, that Motley Fool here in this article does make a really interesting point. Famed investor Peter Lynch has a well-known quote: "Insiders might sell their shares for any number of reasons, but they buy for only one." Okay, so when you think about Palantir right now from this context, Alex Karp could be looking to diversify some of his wealth into, let's say, model portfolios to make sure that him and his family are going to be taken care of for the next however many generations, which is completely fair. But it's not just Alex Karp that's doing this. When you look at bar chart over here and you take a look at a lot of these insider transactions in Palantir over, let's say, the last couple of months here, it has been a significant amount of selling. You look at these guys, and again, like Peter Lynch said, they could be selling for a wide variety of reasons, and we should be letting these insiders reward themselves for a lot of the great performance that they have had over, let's say, the last couple of years here. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good thing in the present. And it doesn't mean that Palantir is going to continue going vertical like a lot of you guys have experienced over the last, let's say, year and a half here. In my opinion, Palantir has now graduated. It now needs to find its fair value in the market, and its earnings then can continue to grow like they have been, and it can continue to move up in the future. But think about it like this. Let's say that you just got into a relationship and then within a week you guys are getting married. That's a little bit too quick to be moving. If I mean, maybe not for some of you guys. Maybe you guys want to move very quick over here. That's okay. But in terms of a stock like Palantir, being up 10x in about a year and a half, 2 years here is a very, very, very significant move. And the market is now, like I said before, going to put this on a pedestal. So again, I would not expect these types of gargantuan moves to the upside in Palantir anymore. What I would expect is some potential downside in the short term, but then as the market starts to pick back up, we then see that slow growth as this company graduates into being one of these larger companies and a very large player in the AI space. Now, in addition to Palantir obviously being a retail favorite, it's also been getting a lot of institutional attention as well. When we move over here, we can see that in the second quarter of 2023, a significant amount of Palantir shares was bought by institutions, about $5.67 billion worth. And we can take a look on the chart here, this is what these zones are. So this is that quarter of 2023 here. When we look at this right here, Q2 of 2023, we go back to the chart and we see that this is where Palantir was starting to be bought up by institutions. So this range here is between about $8.30 all the way up to the highs of about $17. Now, when you come back over here and look at exactly when they were selling, again, there were still more net buyers than there were sellers, but this is a significant amount of selling in Palantir shares by institutions in the last full quarter that we were in. And that was right in this area here when Palantir had a very, very positive earnings, continued way up from about, let's see, $40 all the way up to this $85 range. And the institutions were booking their profits. Just because, and I want to make this clear to you guys, just because institutions are booking profits does not mean that they do not think that the stock is going to be going up in the future. You have to remember that a lot of these institutions have risk parameters that they have to abide by. If they're buying a stock at 10 and it goes to 85, they are now massively overweight in that position, and they need to be able to operate and stay within a lot of these risk parameters that are outlined for them by their organization in compliance. So just because they're doing that does not necessarily mean that they think it's going to go down. They just have to operate within these types of guidelines. But again, that does add some selling pressure into the stock. So to kind of wrap all this up here, guys, and to give you just a big picture of kind of what to look at going forward, the market in general is obviously going to be relatively choppy and volatile over kind of the next couple of months here as the market gets used to a lot of these Trump press conferences, the new tariffs coming in. But again, it just takes some getting used to. And a company like Palantir, if we are to see some downturn, obviously can come down. Does that mean you should get scared? If you guys know the real fundamentals of this business, which I know a lot of you guys do, there's a lot of great content out there on YouTube covering this name, then I wouldn't really be worried. A lot of you guys are sitting at a very significant gain, but again, it does not mean that you can't take some profits off the table. Just because the institutions are operating within these risk parameters here doesn't mean that you shouldn't as well. So again, just kind of going through what I did with Palantir. I mean, I was buying in the 15s, sold it at 71, and I am perfectly happy with those gains. Would I love to own this company again? Absolutely. But I need to wait until we have found a bottom, just like we did with the SoFi move, with the Neo move, with the couple of the other, with the Yin move, a lot of the other amazing trades that I've handed out to you guys over the last year here. We need to wait until we can confirm that the aggressive selling in this name is over. And until then, you're probably going to see a lot of volatility, and I would be biased to the downside here. So that is going to wrap up this video, guys. If you did enjoy the information and analysis that I provided for you, make sure you go down and hit that like button. It costs you nothing to do it, but it helps me out a whole lot in getting these videos out to as many people who actually want to learn. And if you guys did enjoy, make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another video like this. So until next time, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.